What's up, guys? I haven't made a video in a long time about anything, and because well, I'm not really a content creator or anything like that, but um, basically, I spent the last many years of my life on Suboxone and other pills before the Suboxone. Um, Recently, a few months ago, I started my business as a construction boss, and I got all the tools, everything, and went through the trials and tribulations, if you want to say, of starting a company, and the stress was so overwhelming and astronomical. This is around COVID, so I was starting this business during COVID, and I had a very bad batch of I say post COVID symptoms. And basically, I was having hard time breathing and a hard time keeping myself ready. But I did my first remodel for myself. I couldn't find any help, so I was doing it myself, and it was a very difficult remodel. It wasn't a very big addition. Well, sorry, I should say addition. It was an addition slash remodel. And I don't know if anybody knows anything about additions or if any of you guys have done construction, but in all reality, you start out as an addition, but it ends up being a remodel because you always get sucked into doing ass loads of extra stuff. It's just the way it is. Like, I ended up doing the roof, I ended up doing the sheetrock, I ended up doing, but anyway, I did a really awesome job, and I, made archways and a custom built hip roof and all kinds of stuff that, at some point I'll post on here so you guys can see my work. I've definitely been blessed by God to be skilled at the craft, because I feel like when I started, I was very terrible at the craft, and for the first time in my life, being a previous athlete and a very dominant, very, um, like, I could honestly say that I was a pretty top tier athlete coming out of high school. I had an extremely fast 40. I had a very insane build. So I had a big ego coming out of high school, and then my ego was destroyed towards the end, and I did not end up finishing. So anyway, that's a long story short. But so back to this Suboxone thing, right? So for years and years, I have had in the back of my head, after me and my ex split up, I was still on the Suboxone. Obviously, I got tired of the pills. I had a very bad addiction, and the Suboxone left me feeling defeated, even though they were telling me I was sober. And there's a death that started. At first it's like you feel like you're succeeding and you're fine, so you're happy, right? But there's also a seed planted in you that knows the truth, and the truth is that, although you're more sober on sub, you're also numbing down a lot of the natural human emotions that God has given you for a reason. Because we all have a purpose in this world. And so, like, when you go to, like, the Suboxone, for instance, people who never take it, one thing they're not honest about is it does get you pretty faded in the beginning, and let me just get that clear. Maybe not everybody, I can't speak for everybody, but I can only speak for everybody that I know. It's no secret that you get faded when you first start taking sub. And you get, in fact, so faded that you're just down to just go with whatever. I mean, if they're telling you to take this, you feel like you took some not it's not the same exact feeling. It's slightly different, but for a long time, the medication really works. It really does do what it's supposed to do. It keeps your mind off of other pills, but the problem is that Suboxone in and of itself is addictive, and also they're not honest about the withdrawals of Suboxone. And that's for a lot of reasons that they're not honest about it. For one, as far as damage to positive ratio, you could take the Suboxone and have a job, pay your bills, take care of your kids, be responsible, all of those things. So, it's kind of like when you're addicted to pain pills, you have to buy them all the time. You have to take them literally all the time. And at the same time, it's working on your whole ambition in life. Um, for example, it's just you start taking them, you start to realize you're hooked, and then you start thinking, okay, as long as I stay ahead of the gun and I have enough pills for the day, I'm okay. But the problem is that's literally thousands of dollars. And I'm here to tell you guys that when I went to get off Suboxone, I'm going to tell you what, I was so desperate because I couldn't wean down. I had job after job after job. I was buried up to my neck in just problems and guys that were working for me. Keep in mind, like, I came from a poor family. I never saw, like I had to make so many breakthroughs to get to where I was. Like, you guys don't even understand. Like, first of all, I don't mean to bring this up because I don't want to, want to say it like this, but me, I don't necessarily look that dark in this video, but for one, I'm not Mexican and I'm not fully white. And I live around 99% like Caucasian people. So the only reason why that kind of matters is I've dealt with a lot of stereotypical stuff, trying to break all kinds of barriers and prove that I'm not just a master of my craft, but that people like I just am what I am, and what I am is a builder. I was given my skill, I believe, by God, but also by discipline and patience and following somebody else's leadership and not trying to rise up as an alpha male, but keeping myself in place and being prestigious with those things. And so I learned the trade like that, and it was a very hard, painful journey of, trust me, no, like, the average person, there's many men out there that are carpenters and framers and things like that. And so I'm not trying to say that it was any harder than any of those guys or any of you even. I'm just saying, for my own personal experience, if you've ever made it through a Montana winter, imagine working in a Montana winter outside for year after year after years, days go by. You're working weekends sometimes. Like, most of the time, you're working at least one day of the weekend. You're working these long days. You're exerting yourself. You're going up and down ladders. You're throwing up sheets. You're doing all this stuff. So I did all this while I was on Suboxone, and it just, thank God, because it kept me stable and leveled out. And for that reason, I would say Suboxone is a very good drug for being stable for a very long period of time when you don't have to, like we're all working towards our future while we're younger. And the Suboxone really helped me. As long as I took my Suboxone, I could at least feel enough. I had enough energy, I had enough focus, and I felt like nothing was really going to stop me from learning the trade. I took a lot of bruises along the way, but I did. And but the seed that was planted, there's two seeds that are planted when you get on something like Suboxone, okay? And one of those seeds is the regret of losing your sobriety. Is like losing your virginity in a way. Like, and I'm not talking about just weed. I'm talking about, there's a huge process of dying inside of yourself because you come into contact with something that's way bigger than yourself and way harder to defeat than you could ever imagine, because you have to deal with this sickness whenever you run out of something. And so you kind of naturally almost feel like, I kind of naturally just felt like I was hiding something from somebody. Like, I didn't want people to know the truth about myself. I didn't want people to know that even though I had this story about how I was successful because I got off pills, that I would tell people, when it got to talking about the maintenance aspect, I would always just say, I'm sober now. And, that's what the doctors teach you and this and that. And eventually the Suboxone does not get you high at all. Like, I would say for the first about 3 years, I could feel some sort of buzz. But a year after year, eventually you really do get to this point to where it's kind of just your own emotions being manipulated by the drug, and you're like I said, you're numb, your anxiety is low, you feel just blah, like you can be happy, but it's like it's not a real happiness. And I'm just being honest. Like you can be sad, but it's not a real sad. You're not really feeling the heartfelt, like you're getting like a very watered down version of life from what I can see. And because you're on a drug, your chemicals in your brain are stuck reacting to it. So the best way I could explain it is like if you're in a parallel universe and you're watching yourself, and you get little glimpses along the way of what certain experiences would be like if you were sober. And that sounds really weird, but I'm saying like you get bogged down sometimes and you just start thinking about it and you can feel the medication running through your veins, and something random will happen, like you'll smell something or you'll hear something, and all of a sudden you'll have a memory of when you were sober, and it pierces your heart, almost like hope, like that there's a way off of it, even though it's so difficult. I will say that my battle with Suboxone has been the hardest battle of my entire life to get off of. And I just want everybody to understand that if you are on pills and you are so hopeless and are looking for a way out, even if it's fentanyl, you need to understand that maintenance is, how do I say this? Like, maintenance is definitely, it's going to solve your here and now problems, but it's not going to solve your internal clock, your desire to live your life and be the best that you can be. uh that it's like you're gonna reach a point, I feel like, where you feel like you need to get more out of life. And unfortunately, you'll probably reach that point many, many, many times before you could even get off Suboxone, because the withdrawals of Suboxone that they say are mild or more mild than other opiates or whatever they say, that's true for a little while and for some people who haven't taken it that long. But if you take it for 10 years or plus, like me, that's not true at all. I hate to tell you this, but it is just a never ending thing. It feels like day after day after day. And so much so that I was so desperate to get off the Suboxone that I actually went back on pills, thinking that I would take the pills just long enough and take just enough pills to kill the withdrawals from the Suboxone. And I thought that once I felt like I was done detox from the Suboxone, I would jump off the pills, get on Suboxone for like 2 days, and then just stop taking it. And then, in my brain, I was thinking like this is gonna work. Well, what problem was is I could feel the sub withdrawals through the pills, and I'm gonna tell you, a month out, and listen to me. I know that that sounds hopeless. That when I say a month out, but do not, it's not hopeless, because I did not wean down. I did not do any of like the precautionary things that I would have done differently had I not been so hopeless and not just made a rash decision. I would definitely say you really do, with this medication, have no freaking choice but to wean down. Because if you don't, you are going to relapse bad. You're going to seek anything because the pain is that bad. You have to get yourself down. Do not do what I did. I do not recommend this way to anybody, but I jumped on the pills. Um, then I spent upwards of about $70,000 on pills because I went that first month. I took the pills, and then I decided, okay, now it's time to get off the pills. And this was a month exactly, but I could still feel the residual like detox from the sub too. And the reason why I say that is because I've been addicted to pills many times, and I know that in the morning you feel a little bit yawny and stuff coming off the pills, but you're not an immediate withdrawal. Well, I would take a lot of opiates and I would be immediately withdrawing when I woke up still, 15, 20 days in, to where I knew that I was still detoxing from sub. And everybody knows their own body. No doctor can tell you how your own body feels or what your experience is. Like you just know yourself. So I then got a call when I was withdrawing. Well, okay, first of all, I quit taking the sub. I sat there all day. I detoxed all day and all night, and I just sat there in absolute agony. I took a couple kratom pills, and I didn't take nearly enough, I don't think, but I took a couple of those. I went, and next thing you know, like a day or so later, I had to go set a bunch of trusses on this house. And I have 4 guys working for me, by the way. So I have nothing slowing down. I'm having to go do all this crazy shit, be these people's boss, make sure they're getting paid, make sure these trusts are getting in. I'm getting pressured from guys to go back to finish the houses over here. And now I'm getting pressured by these guys on this remodel. And there's only the cranes set up for just this one day. And that's the only day that I'm going to be able to go set these trusses, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, I didn't get that couple more days. If I would have had a few more days to like recenter myself, then it would have saved me at least $50,000 in pills. Because I feel like I was ready to do it then. And I do think that I would have possibly been successful at it. But you guys will have to forgive me because I'm still sick, like right now. This is day 2 of nothing, and I got off the methadone a few days ago, and it's been hell, and it just comes in waves. So even right now I'm sick, but I'm fighting through it. So this time I'm not going back to this shit ever again. I can promise you that. Because I reached this point of death within myself where I lost all my motivation in life. And how that happened is, let me just explain it to you. After the second wave of pills, so I told you guys I took the pills for a month, tried to get off. Now I have no choice. I have to go into work and I have to go get all these trusses and everything. So I'm like panicking, trying to figure out, because I feel like absolute shit. If there was any day in the world I could have used taking off, it was that day. Trust that. But no. So I knew what time that the crane was going to be there. Luckily, I had a little bit of time. So, of course, we made 1,000 calls, found some pills, took some pills, went to work. Ended up going through a stint of just mania of trying to keep a certain amount of money in my account. That became my life, was I needed to keep this amount of money in my account no matter what. So I was like taking on these jobs, like trying to get my chunks of money and taking pills to compensate and commanding my guys to do this and this and this and just like, look, go forward, forward, forward. And it was like, weekends, fuck it, work. Nighttime, fuck it, work. Daytime, fuck it, work. Just every fucking 5 minutes I was snorting. It seemed like I was snorting a pill and working more. And pills are not a motivating drug, by the way. They're not. They're just not. Like, so I had to like relearn to like force myself. And all this time I didn't know something inside of me was dying more and more and more. And motivation was like being pulled out of my soul. And finally, it got to a point to where I got a nasty stomach virus, this terrible stomach virus. And so I was forced to sit down for like a week. And and I was also still taking the pills, but I managed to get better from that. But it was the first time I realized like my health was in like jeopardy, because my stomach had been locked up, obviously, primarily from opiate use my whole life. I mean, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. It has to be that because it was just terrible. And so, change the subject. We get fast forward. I get out of the stomach thing. My stomach never really did heal from that all the way, but now I'm back at work. I went back to this place. I worked some more and ended up doing this big giant house. And so I didn't want to be back on Suboxone. I didn't want to be on the pills. I couldn't keep affording to do the pills. I couldn't keep affording to making the stupid decisions I was making. My wife was out of work. I was losing so much money. It was ridiculous. And I could see myself losing everything that God had helped me get. And so I was like, I came up with a number in my account of what I wasn't going to allow myself to go down, and I ran to the Suboxone clinic. Well, I went to the clinic. I go and I say, I don't want to be back on Suboxone no matter what. I've been trying to get off it for 2 months now. That's the whole reason why I relapsed, was because I was so hopeless on Suboxone. The doctor basically told me I was a piece of shit, that basically I failed, that, that I didn't even know what it was like to do a big job yet, and I must have let the stress just get to me, and I just failed. That's what I did. I failed in my sobriety, is what he told me. And at the time, I was willing to try. The only other thing that they had was methadone, and the doctor basically said, fuck you, here's a sub. Well, I told him, fuck you right back, came in the next day, gave him his sub back, and I said no, and I took the oxys that I had on me. Well, when I came in the next day, I went and I ended up seeing another doctor, and he's like, okay, well, if you want to be on the methadone instead, no problem. We'll just put you on the methadone. And I was like, cool. So I started taking the methadone, and the withdrawal started subsiding. And next thing you know, I was able to like wean myself off pills because of the methadone. Thank God. I wasn't sick. I was able to work. So obviously the transition is still bumpy in that because methadone's a very powerful opiate, that it takes a long time to kick in and it builds up in your system. And I think, I started at the 30, got up to 40, then 50, and this is all within like weeks. Next thing you know, I just started noticing that I was wanting to sleep all day. Like I would go to work and it was hard. Every time I would eat lunch or anything, I would just like damn near fall asleep in my car. And I was like, this is bad. Hold on, you guys, I gotta use the bathroom. I'll be right back. So yeah, anyways, guys, like I just started noticing I wasn't like motivated. I was losing motivation really fast, and I was like forcing myself to work, I noticed. And even though I wasn't sick, I was having this new problem. And the new problem is the seed from the very beginning was really just weighing on me bad. Like it was like I just knew that I just started feeling really terrible. Like I was asleep all the fucking time. Like I would go to work, I'd make it through the day. I felt pretty good when I was working, just got tired way faster. Noticed pains that I didn't really have, I guess, when I was on sub. That was another thing that's kind of weird. I don't even know if opiates really kill pain because, honest to God, I was in a lot of pain on methadone. And, you know, so anyway, I just know that all of a sudden it was like I reached like a point of spiritual death, which I don't know where it came from. I don't know how it hit me. I don't know what happened, but I swear to God, it was like all my drive, all my hope, all my aspirations, all my accomplishments meant nothing. And now I was just totally and utterly defeated. And it was like it happened right through the house, and I toughed it out, and I ended the house when it was done, and here we are now. And so what happened was I went into the methadone clinic. I told them I can't do the methadone. I'm tired of being asleep. I don't feel right on the inside. I feel like I'm spiritually dead. I feel like I'm dying on the inside. I can't really explain it to anybody, but I can't afford to come home and sleep 4 or 5, 6 hours out of the fucking day when I'm used to working my ass off all day every day, and I was never even, it's just ridiculous, And even though the sleep on methadone is extremely peaceful, you'll never feel more peaceful sleep than being on that shit. I'll tell you that. But other than that, it's like just spiritual death, just feeling of hopelessness. So the doctor was like, "Cool. Well, what I forgot to tell you guys is they had tried to switch me back to sub the first time I started telling them that it was putting me to sleep. And I was only on like 50 mils. There's people who are taking 150 mils. There's even a lady there that's taking 500 mils. I don't know how these people do it. I can't understand it. I feel like 30 mils for me was probably, I think I needed to get up to about 50 mils or 60 mils to quit the pills. But I feel like once I did that, I feel like I should have immediately started tapering my dose rather than staying on the methadone, because it was like, and this is only a couple months, maybe almost 3 months, but it just wasn't for me. I didn't like it. I didn't like sleeping. So they put me on the Bernese method during the house that I was building, and that means that I take little bits of sub to attach to my receptors while taking methadone, and then I was going to try to switch. Well, that didn't work. It just zapped me into withdrawal, so I was withdrawing for like 3 or 4 days, and I was like, I can't build this house and be withdrawing all the time, so it just didn't really make sense to continue that. I stopped trying to do the sub. Plus, I didn't really want to get back on the sub anyway. So yeah, I ended up just sticking with the methadone. Well, anyway, I went to the doctor again and told him, I missed a couple days at the dosing clinic because I had bought some methadone and I had some for myself or whatever. And so I get a call from my counselor, and I just told her, I was like, hey, look, man, 50 mils was too much. Like, I'm falling asleep all the time. I'm fucking not feeling right. I go and talk to her. She brings me to the doctor. I go talk to the doctor, and he's like, okay, here's a sub. When you're in withdrawal, take this. That was probably the best thing that happened to me in my whole life, because I came home. I was already in withdrawal, but I was in getting more severe, and I figured I would take it, and I'd definitely go into withdrawals for a while, but I thought that the bupe would take over and I would feel better eventually. Well, no, that was not what happened. I went into severe withdrawal beyond anything imaginable to myself, and next thing you know, I was slumped over, and I hit rock bottom, let's just say. I realized that was the absolute worst that I felt like I could feel in my human being life. And because of that, I knew that everything up from there would get better. And because there was really nothing I could take to make myself feel better, let's say I take an opiate. Well, the bupe is trying to kick the opiate off of my receptors. The Narcan's kicking opiates off my receptors. The bupe is trying to attach to my receptor while also the methadone is battling. So what it does is it just shoots lightning bolts through your body. You start sweating. You feel like you're going to puke. You feel like you're just going to die. And you can't sleep. You can't eat. It's like it's like being locked holding onto an electric fence while having the flu. That's what it feels like. Like you're just in this state of absolute fucking agony. And over the period of the rest of the day, it did die down just a little bit, but it started feeling like icicles just were shooting up and down my body. And I'm just fucking like, Oh God, oh God, oh God. Thank God my wife had some Xanax, because I used that to sleep. I just fucking super dosed myself with the Xanax, and I just, at that point, I woke up the next day, and ever since then I haven't taken anything. I'm not gonna lie, I took a little bit of kratom, but not very much, but just a little bit, and I've been taking that. But it's been days now, and I'm still withdrawing. I'm still not feeling good, but I know that there's hope. I feel it, and I want to build this business the right way. I want to go do things the right way. I'm talented, you know. I have a lot of actual talent, you know. Um, there's some things that I still, as a young business owner, have to learn. They're obviously just to grow, and there's things that I need to get more experienced in my leadership of the company. But I feel like doing those things with a sober 100% mind and an earnest heart. I don't feel like I have anything to hide anymore. Um, so this is kind of like just my coming clean video of, I'm coming clean and coming to reality of my senses of like, I just want you guys to know, if any of you guys are struggling with addiction and you don't know how to get off, my advice to you is don't do what I did, because you know the financial situation I would be in if I wouldn't have went back to pills would have been astronomical. I could have took half a fucking year off and been just fine if I wanted to. Um, but of course, because of the path that I chose, I'm sitting way lower than I was. We'll just say that. I'm not broke. I'm not close to broke, but I worked way too hard to have what I have, and I made some serious mistakes, but I'm willing to do what it takes now to do this thing right. And I've been praying for myself, and I do pray for all any of you guys, because I'm telling you, that seed that starts in you, that from the very beginning of the journey of Suboxone, and everybody's different. Some people need it, and I'm telling you, I thank Suboxone for all the years, the stable years that it gave me in the workforce and everything, helping me keep my mind off of other drugs or anything that could get me in more trouble. But the truth about Suboxone is, guys, is that before you decide to take Suboxone, make sure you have an exit plan, because some of you guys need to realize that most people who start taking that are in it for the long haul, and methadone too. The withdrawals are no joke, guys. They're no joke. And unless you have the discipline to wean yourself down to literally a microspec, and even then, and unless you really, really know, like, I would just research it, not just from the doctor's point of view, not from the point of view of what the doctors and Google and everything wants you to hear, but really go into people's stories with it and understand that you're trading an opiate that's going to take you 4 days to detox off of, and then maybe another 10 days of post traumatic withdrawal, which you just don't feel 100% right. You might not have as much energy, things like that. But that's 4 days of maximum withdrawal on a real opiate, a regular opiate. Suboxone, you're looking at a very long time, brother and sisters. Like, it's just, you're gonna suffer. Trust that. And does that mean that it's not doable? No, there is things out there. They're coming out with all kinds of therapies to help people off this stuff, and with the fentanyl epidemic, it's definitely like people need to know this stuff. Like kratom is huge. I think one of the biggest problem that people make with kratom, and even my doctor said, is that they don't take enough. You have to take it, and you have to understand that it takes a long time to work. Like, if you're withdrawing really hard and then you take kratom when you're withdrawing really hard, you're going to have to wait a very long time to get relief. And then when you finally do start feeling it, your body's got to adjust to it like everything else. It's not a magic save all. You're going to still feel a lot of the withdrawals through that stuff too. You're not going to just feel like a champ. Um, there's ibogaine therapy. I haven't researched that, but apparently it's some hallucinogen that they kind of put you on in a measured clinic system, or a rehab facility or whatever. I don't know the specifics of that, but there's also a new program that you should look into with doctors called Lofixidine or something like that, where they put you they put you in like a hospital type setting. They then put you in withdrawal by giving you basically Suboxone, and most people Suboxone at first works really good. So you know what I mean. They get kind of sick at first, and then they feel a lot better. I call them subversions because the people who that's the thing about Suboxone too is the tolerance, man. The tolerance is really, really like you build that tolerance and it doesn't go back down for a long, like it just doesn't. So once you build your tolerance up for that shit, I feel like your tolerance just stays there. But it takes a really long time to build that tolerance with Suboxone. So most people, what I call subversions, they'll go into the lofixamine clinic, they get their dose of Suboxone, they immediately cut them off. They start administering Narcan, and then they give you 5 to 6 to 7 days of lofixamine, which is some breakthrough opiate treatment, I guess, that kills up to a high percentage of the withdrawal. And they increase the naltrexone, which is an opiate blocker, during this period of time. And a lot of people are now succeeding because of this, but I don't know the specifics of how much it costs. I don't know where these clinics are. I just know the research that's being done, and it's also being done because of the fentanyl epidemic and everything, or pandemic, or whatever you want to call it. But basically, it's a place where you're gonna probably go into a treatment center, and it's probably gonna be like a week, from what I understand, to 2 weeks long. And at the end of your 8 days, or however many days it takes for you to detox off or whatever, they give you a shot of naltrexone, which lasts for like a month, and that blocks any opiates you would take. So again, do I think that's I think at this point, I think there needs to be so much science put into getting people off of these drugs, because it's literally COVID is not the number one killer. Okay, addiction is the number one killer. It's the soul killer. It's the family killer. It's the love of life and God and everything that He wants you to see and experience in this. We only get one of these, and to have a distorted, numbed down version of this is, I'm sorry, it's not worth it to anyone. I feel like we make mistakes, and opiates is just one of those things that people make the mistake and they don't get a second chance, I feel like. And I feel like there needs to be an astronomical amount of money and time and science and dedication put into other things besides just maintenance, to get people off. So I'm going to end this video with that. I'd love to hear you guys' comments. This is like day 4. No opiates with me. It's definitely hot and cold. It's in and out. I'd be lying. It's still pretty hell, like, for me, but I'll make it. God bless, man. You guys just keep fighting the good fight. Keep fighting to get yourself free. Don't do anything stupid. If you're going through traumatic life situations, or if you're going through divorces, if you're just buried in work and everything else, and you don't have time to do any of that stuff to like wiggle yourself free of this medication problem, don't do it yet. You know what I mean? Or just focus on making sure that when you are ready to do this, that you're in the position to be ready. Like, whether it's tapering, whether it's just taking even the smallest bit less every day, even if they give you a dose that's higher. You know what I mean? Because you might not always in your work life have time to go see this same doctor and tell them every little detail, everything. It's better to just start lowering yourself just a teeny bit, very teeny bit. And I'm not a doctor. Let me just rephrase this. I'm not a doctor. So a lot of people might frown on this, but I'm saying, but make sure your doctor knows what you're doing. The second you do see your doctor, let them know. Let them know the truth about your process. Don't let them talk you into just taking more unless you're freaking out too, and you're just like, stressed out of your head, and you feel like you're going to relapse. Don't relapse. Don't take the pills. It ain't worth it, dude. Like, you will lose all your money. You'll lose your families. You'll lose whatever. The pills are seriously still the enemy. Even though the withdrawal time is a lot shorter, They are the enemy. They're the number one pocket killer. They're the number one family killer. They're the number one life snatcher, and they lead you to heroin and fentanyl. So there's no reason to do stupidly what I did and jumped on pills. You know, thinking, oh well, I got on pills, or I got on this sub because of pills. I'll get off sub with pills. It's like, okay, well, no, you're just going to lose all your money. And you're still going to have to withdraw off methadone or sub later. So it's just delaying, you know. But anyway, God bless you guys. Love you all. Take care.